Right now, though, very pleased to have with us the editor of the O'Leary Report, Peyton Knight. Peyton, how are you this evening?
Very well, thank you. Thank you, Cam, for having me on.
You bet. It's a real pleasure. And I got to tell you, it's fascinating. I'm glad that you're here because not only did the O'Leary Report release a poll on Americans' attitudes towards gun control today, so did Mayors Against Illegal Guns, Peyton. And I know you'll be shocked by this, but Mayor Bloomberg's anti-gun group says Americans across the board are in favor of really all kinds of gun control laws. That's not what the O'Leary Report poll shows.
No, probably because we ask our questions in a more fair and balanced way and allow our respondents to the polls actually understand the issue and not try and push them in a certain direction.
All right, so let's talk let's talk a little bit about your poll. 10,000 registered voters, right?
That's correct.
And really all across the country.
That's correct. What we did was we actually divided voters, all 10,000 likely voters, into three camps: red states, blue states, and battleground states. And what we found was pretty amazing. First of all, here's what we asked. It's a very straightforward question. Please tell us if gun laws in America are adequate, too harsh, or too lenient for law-abiding citizens. 75% of all voters across America think gun laws are currently either adequate or too harsh. In fact, 33% of all voters think they're too harsh. This includes, by the way, 57% of Democratic voters who think gun laws are either adequate or too harsh in America. So, I mean, it's very clear. What American voters across the board, red states, blue states, battleground states, Republicans, people in the center, people on the left, Democrats, they're saying right now Congress and the White House ought to be enforcing what our current gun laws are. Not enacting more gun control, not taking away the rights of law-abiding citizens and restricting their ability to defend themselves, defend their families, enjoy their shooting traditions and their hunting traditions. It's very clear. And by the way, that's why the Obama administration has been so reticent, despite all the pressure they're getting from the gun control lobby, to do anything on the gun control issue. They know it's a loser.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, actually, I should say the million-dollar question is, will the Obama administration be able to hold off the gun lobby all the way through till 2012? Because as the administration loses support among voters nationwide, there's going to be a natural inclination to want to shore up the base, to kind of make that last stand with the base.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that time will tell whether or not they follow through on their promise to push more gun control laws. But right now they're not, because they know it's a loser.
Yeah, and you know what I thought was fascinating too is you guys actually got very specific about certain proposals. For instance, one of the pieces of legislation that's been out there, Brady campaign's still been pushing for this, is they call it the No Fly, No Buy bill.
Right.
Rahm Emanuel, back before he was chief of staff, before he was the mayor of Chicago, when he was just a lowly congressperson, spoke at a Brady campaign event and said, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, if you're on the no-fly list, you're not a part of the American family, and you don't deserve to own a gun. Now, Peyton, you know, I know, by that statement and by that standard, Ted Kennedy was no longer a member of the American family when you know, Rahm Emanuel made those remarks. You don't know how you get on. You don't know how you get off. We know that not everybody on the no-fly list is suspected of being a terrorist. The FBI has told us this. And so you asked this question. How did you phrase this question, trying to judge people's attitudes about the no-fly, no-buy bill?
Again, it was very straightforward. It was simply, do you believe that, or do you support or oppose notifying citizens who are placed on the no-fly list and giving them an opportunity to challenge the listing and then have themselves removed from the list, knowing that there are a lot of federal agencies who are trying to implement backdoor gun control via the no-fly list. And again, we found that overwhelmingly Republicans, Democrats, red state voters, blue state voters, middle-of-the-ground voters all supported giving citizens on the no-fly list the simple right to say, hey, why am I on this list? And by the way, you're going to have to prove that I deserve to be on this list, because I don't like the fact that Janet Napolitano is in charge of Homeland Security and Eric Holder is in charge of the Justice Department, and what those two agencies have been trying to do with the no-fly list and trying to take away people's gun rights.
Well, yeah, and you add to this, Peyton. I'm sure you've seen the stories that have been floating around several of the states. Some of the state Department of Homeland Security institutes, these sort of nonprofit agencies that are providing intelligence reports to the state Department of Homeland Securities. They've classified things like Second Amendment rallies, anti-tax rallies, an anti-war protest run by Quakers in Pennsylvania, all as suspicious activities, meaning that if you go to one of these things, who knows, maybe your name does end up on the no-fly list.
That's exactly right. You and of course you and your listeners, you did such a great job publicizing it back when it came out. That report from Homeland Security and Janet Napolitano, where it was talking about homegrown terrorism and was basically telling Americans that they should fear veterans, fear gun owners, fear religious people. That's all paving the way for exactly what we see with this backdoor gun control through the no-fly list. It's creating the idea in Americans' minds that anybody who passionately believes in something, whether it's Christianity, the Bill of Rights, or simply their right to personal responsibility absent government control, is somehow a threat to greater society. And, of course, by doing that, by conditioning the public, they make it more likely that their radical gun control laws and so what have you would pass Congress and be more palatable. But that's exactly what that is. You're exactly right.
Well, again, the poll results were fascinating. I know that Brad O'Leary has a column at townhall.com. We've got a link to it so folks can check it out. Again, sometimes I will complain during the election season about small sample sizes, but with 10,000 registered voters, I have no complaints about the size of the sample that you guys used, Peyton, and really no arguing with the results you guys got.
Well, absolutely. It's and we use Brad likes to say we use Zogby International because it tends to help balance out the sampling and the questioning. He's not exactly known as a far right pollster by any stretch of the imagination. So, but that's why we do it. We want to get the honest answers, and I think this gives a lot of insight into why after the State of the Union address, President Obama's administration was kind of caught off guard by the media saying, "Why didn't you talk about gun control in the address?" And they promised that hey, we're going to start pushing gun control soon, and they may yet. But the fact of the matter is, weeks have gone by, almost a month, and still no major effort. And this really shows why. It's just not popular.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. As you mentioned this, Peyton, it was interesting when President Obama first made that statement. The gun control advocates were all over it. And OCC, look, he's going to talk about it soon. And then you started seeing the walkback from Robert Gibbs. He said, "Well, I'm sure the president will make a statement or something at some point." And the gun control advocates again. Oh, he's going to say something. He has to say something. As you say now, it's been almost it's been over a month, and I have not even seen the Brady campaign issue some sort of press release reminding the president about his promise. Do you think they don't want to? Do you think they don't want to bring up the fact that the president has not given this big speech that he said he was going to give?
I think that is part of it, and I really do think that who knows what kind of communication is going back and forth between the White House and their allies in the gun control movement, but. I will say that the fact that he hasn't done anything, that the administration hasn't done anything, and that Democrats in Congress, aside from the ones from far left districts that can get away with it, haven't done anything or come forward. It's really it has to do with the great job that NRA has done, that Wayne LaPierre has done, that Chris Cox has done, educating Americans, and so that they understand that gun control doesn't make Americans any safer. In fact, it makes Americans less safe. It inhibits their ability to defend themselves and defend their families. Criminals don't follow the law by definition. So when you take away people's gun rights, you're only taking away the rights of law-abiding citizens. People understand that. It's very common sense. NRA has done a great job communicating that message, putting forth the facts. And the fact, it's done such a good job, in fact, that even Democratic voters, voters in blue states, as I said, the middle ground, of course, all agree that gun control is not the way to go.
Absolutely. Well, Peyton, again, sir, glad you could join us this evening, and look forward to doing it again very soon.
Thank you so much, Cam. It was a pleasure.